This is a big decision.
So what form of referendum? Are you wanting the Prime Minister to initiate a government or a citizens initiated?
No, my preference would be that Parliament says, look, this is an issue that all New Zealanders are invested in. Let's put it out as a binding referenda. So you have to enact
legislation first, and actually we have an opportunity. I put a bill in the ballot and it's been selected. The public of New Zealand do have an opportunity to have a say.
Mr Craig, that you want a referendum. That's the same position as New Zealand First. Have you spoken with New Zealand First about taking this stance?
No, not at all. Although I'm pleased that they did come out and say, yes, they'd support what I had said, because it is written into their policy. I believe that this is the way they should go. But a lot of politicians, you started off by saying it's true, a lot of politicians are out to lunch on this. They are diving for cover and they don't want to make their views known. And I think that's a shame, because this is a big and important issue. And I think that the public would like to know where their representatives stand.
What do you make then on the National MPs who won't give a position?
I think some of them are actually far too timid. I think they do know what they think. Louisa may agree with me or not. I think they just don't want to be seen to be entering to what can at times become a heated debate. Now, I'm quite happy to put my views forward and to say why I think what I think. And I respect Louisa for doing the same. I think leadership is about standing up and saying, this is what I think we should do for the country and this is why. And I think we'd like to see more of our politicians coming
and I'd just like to add that actually this is about leadership. So I want to acknowledge not only my leader but the Prime Minister, who's come out very strongly. I don't underestimate his support, but also leaders of other political parties. We've got Mana's leader, we've got United Futures leader, and we've got the Māori Party. And it's really interesting when you look at Tariana Turia, Peter Dunn and the Right Honourable John Key. They voted against civil union.
And that wasn't easy for the Māori Party, was it?
No, it wasn't. But I think for them it's a recognition that in modern society we have families that define themselves. And who are we as a state to deny that right to all New Zealand citizens?
Are you fearful, Mr Craig, that if gay marriage is legalised, this bill becomes law, do you think that could in some way encourage homosexuality?
Well, I have the view that people make their own choices, and if people choose to be homosexual...
Homosexuality isn't a choice, Colin. People are born the way they're born, and everyone has the right in our society to be who they are. And this is a very important issue for our young people, because we have high rates of youth suicide in New Zealand because our young people aren't empowered to be who they are. This is a critical issue for our country.
Coming back to that, because I support people's freedom to be who they are, if we're avoiding, because I disagree. I think there are many factors, not just genetics, but...
Why would you choose to be discriminated against,
well, some of those factors. Look, the Human Genome Project, which has studied this, says genetics can predispose, but in itself, it does not predestine. It's like being dealt... Genetics is like being dealt a hand of cards.
So you think someone becomes gay as opposed to is born gay?
I think most people recognise that there are other influences, such as upbringing, such as events in life.
My parents were heterosexual, by the way, Colin.
And look, everybody's life story is different.
I have two brothers and a sister.
And coming back to the original question...
What events in life do you think? What do you say?
Well, look, we obviously, there's statistics around some of these things. So for homosexual men, they are statistically far more likely to have suffered child abuses as a child. And that's one of the tragedies of our country. Is that the sole determinant? Of course not.
That fuels homosexuality, do you think, child abuse?
It certainly can make a difference in someone's choices in life. There's no question about that in my mind. Role modelling, the people you get involved with, the type of relationship, the type of life you live, all of these things are inputs into our choices. Genetics is one, but you see, I don't believe it is the sole determinant. I think life's more complex than that. I think it's a bit of a narrow-minded view to say, well, it's all genetics. I just don't believe it is. The original question was, am I worried that this would somehow fuel homosexuality? That's not a worry for me, because I believe in people's personal choice. The issue here is where that choice is going to be rewriting what marriage is, and when it's going to impact on adoption, and we're trying to make the very best choices for children in terms of placing them for adoption. Those issues are not about Louisa's rights, they're crossing over into other people's rights, and that's why I believe it's a slightly different issue from, say, civil unions.
If there is a referendum and overwhelmingly it supports the right for gay marriage to become law, what would you do then?
Oh, well, I am... as a representative, would accept that and move forward with that, because that's what I believe. I believe we should be representative, and I'm confident that a referendum is the right way to go. And if it came out with that decision, then I would move absolutely forward with it, because that's the direction of the people, and that's what's most important here.
Overwhelmingly, though, it already shows that's the direction of the people.
No, if we look at that, it's how you ask the question. So if you look at the findings, and it's okay, it's a year ago, the question was asked, should marriage be between a man and a woman? You've got 50% saying yes, 40% saying no, the other 10% undecided. So it's how the question is asked, and also the other thing is, if we look at experiences overseas, as the debate happens and around a referenda, people tend to go back more to the traditional view and say, yeah, you know what.
And I would say a referendum is very expensive. We had one at the last election with MMP. It cost just under $11 million. I don't think we need to get a gauge or a consensus around how this issue is going to be relevant to New Zealanders.
Changing marriage, as it has been for thousands of years, we're talking about quite a big issue here.
We are,
the best
and
11
actually,
million we'd ever
you
spend.
should implore other MPs to support my bill at first reading, because in fact what that will enable is New Zealanders to have a say about how relevant marriage equality is to them, which is what I'm asking for in the first instance.
A referendum guarantees that New Zealanders' say counts, and that's, I think, important here.
And New Zealanders' say will count. New Zealanders have MPs, they have people that they can speak to.
Are you confident the outcome of a referendum would support your bill?
I am confident it will, given the will of the people, but I think it takes time and it takes money. Now, I actually think we should just enable New Zealanders to be part of what is a global conversation. It's happening in Australia, in the UK, in France. We don't need to waste more time and spend more money.
I think a referendum would give us one really important thing. It would give us an absolute mandate, and it would give us a direction from the people. And on an issue like this, it's got the opportunity to move forward together. And I think it's important that we do that on these issues. We've got other big issues in this country to address, and a referendum is a good way to bring everybody in.
Absolutely, which is why this is a private member's bill. Colin, do you know when women got the right to vote in Switzerland?
No, I don't.
1971, and do you know why they got the right to vote? Because they had to wait for a referendum.
Right.
So in New Zealand, women got the vote in 1893. Referendum, there is some biases in referendum. I've looked at some of the research, and minority groups are discriminated against because there is a tyranny of the majority. Now, we don't have to, as I said before, waste time and money. We have a consensus, I believe.
It's not a waste of time and money.
I believe that New Zealanders want to have the conversation. We have a bill in the ballot. It's, sorry, a bill was in the ballot. It's been chosen. It's been drawn. And in fact, after the first reading, if you want the country to have a debate, Colin, you will be supporting people you know to vote for my bill at first reading.
Look, the referendum will give us a chance not just to have a debate, but it will give a chance for New Zealanders to have their say and ensure that their say counts.
So the government has, this is not a priority for the government. So, so are you trying to use this as a conversation tool with the Prime Minister?
Look, no, not at all. What I'm saying is a referendum is the right way to make a decision here on an issue of such significance that affects almost every New Zealander in some way or another.
And I have faith in our democratic system, and I believe the select committee process will enable that.
Look at the way the MPs have responded. I have not the confidence that you do. Half of them are out to lunch on the issue. Half of our politicians are out to lunch.
We do have to leave it there. Colin Craig, leader of the Conservatives, and Louisa, very much appreciated.